What's up, guys? Welcome to Cage Side Connor. I am Connor. Today's video, I want to do a little bit of prediction. I want to predict the main card for UFC 320. Now, the interesting note on this card is UFC 320 ended up getting moved about 2 weeks, kicked down the line a little bit because this card was originally supposed to be UFC Noche, which was going to go down sometime in mid-September. And God, what happened? The arena wasn't ready, or whatever the fuck was going on there. Something in Mexico. They were building an arena that was supposed to take place there. The arena wasn't ready, so UFC kicked this whole pay-per-view down the line a little bit. And I think that kind of gives us a little bit of a build-up there. There will now be a 6-week gap between UFC pay-per-views, which is interesting. Doesn't typically happen. We typically get one about once a month, if not twice a month, some months. So I think this could potentially be a pretty good card. It's in Vegas now, so T-Mobile Arena, early October. I guess before we get into it, we should rule out what I don't think is going to headline this card. So starting from the top, and then from there we can kind of piece together, I guess, what the rest of the UFC pay-per-views for the rest of the year will look like, right? Starting at the top, I don't think it's going to be Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall, the now reigning, defending heavyweight champion of the UFC, wants to fight in October, but it sounds like he wants to fight in Abu Dhabi, which would be at the end of October. So that would be UFC 321. Doesn't sound like he'd be quite ready to go for early October, so I don't think it's going to be him. I'd imagine it'll be Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane in Abu Dhabi, since that's kind of what he wants. And then I don't think it'll be Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena for the UFC welterweight title, because it sounds like they want to fight at MSG, which is early November, and I think the UFC would probably just give both Islam and Tom what they want, and Jack too, of course. And yeah, they'll be able to fight in those places. So I don't think it's going to be them. Obviously, middleweight, we got that title going down in mid-August, August 19th, I believe. That will be Drake Duplessis versus Hamzat Chimaev. Welterweight, like I just said, MSG, Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. Lightweight, of course, on the line imminently here, very soon. Ilya Topuria versus Charles do Bronx Oliveira. I mean, that'd be way too quick of a turnaround for them. Featherweight, you got Alexander Volkanovski. He's gonna have to fight on one of those cards, so potentially, I'm not predicting that he'll be on here, but potentially he could be. He's definitely gonna get another fight in before the end of the year. Then what's going on? Bantamweight, Merab Dvalishvili. Sounds like he wants to be on either the December pay-per-view or the November pay-per-view, so a bit too soon for him. Flyweight on the title this week, or on the line this weekend as well, so that's not going to be happening unless Pantoja wants a quick turnaround. I doubt it. I could probably see him also on the December pay-per-view. And then of course the women's titles, you got Valentina Shevchenko seemingly defending the belt against Weili Zhang next, so that takes two of the women's titles off the line, and I think they'd probably want that on the December pay-per-view, if not the MSG card. I could even see. And then women's bantamweight, you have Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. It seems like Amanda Nunes is going to need a bit more time to get ready for that fight, come out of retirement and get ready for Kayla Harrison. So I'd imagine that'll be on the December pay-per-view as well, if not sometime early 2026. So what I do think will headline UFC 320, that only leaves us one option. That, of course, is Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira 2. This will be a rematch of the first fight, which went down back in March 2025. Yeah, I think this is the one. I think they wanted this fight earlier, the UFC. I think they wanted this possibly in August, maybe even sometime in July. Who knows? I know Magomed certainly did from what he's tweeting, or, you know, him, Ali, whoever's tweeting on Magomed's account. They wanted this fight a bit earlier, but it seems like they had to wait a little bit for Alex Pereira to get ready. Maybe he was dealing with some injuries. Maybe he had to heal up a little bit from being so active. And yeah, I'm glad it seems like they're going this route. Part of me was thinking they would do Magomed Ankalaev versus Yuri Prochazka, but it seems like Alex Pereira will be ready to get one in by the end of the year. And why not this card? I think it makes sense. And I'll be looking forward to this rematch. The first fight, not spectacular in any way, not great, but it was a decent enough fight, and I'll be curious to see if they can get Alex Pereira to get his belt back, because that's certainly what the UFC want. That's what majority of the fan base wants too, quite honestly. And from there, you could, I don't know, take Alex Pereira up to heavyweight if he already recaptured the light heavyweight belt, and then that'd be a very interesting fight for Tom Aspinall. I mean, they're going to need it with how weak the heavyweight division is. They need interesting fights in that division. They need interesting fights for Tom. So I think everyone's kind of hoping Alex Pereira can get his belt back at some point. For the co-main event, then, I'm going with, well, of course, here's Magomed defeating Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira, of course, you know him, you love him. It was on a huge fight win streak before that. I think 5 fights, something like that. I mean, he was undefeated at light heavyweight for a little while there. So yeah, I will be very much looking forward to that rematch. For the co-main event, I'm going with Yuri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg. I think you could kind of make a little light heavyweight tournament here going on. And I think these two guys would be the next in line for the title. I know Clear Roundtree coming off a big win over Jamal Hill. You got Dominic Reyes floating out there. I wouldn't mind if they actually match those two together. But I think for the next title challenger after the Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira rematch, you set up this fight, Yuri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg. Yuri Prochazka, of course, coming off the win over Jamal Hill from earlier this year. Great fight. It's still probably my fight of the year thus far in 2025. I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little bit. Maybe I'll make a little video on that. But yeah, I think Yuri will be ready to go for one more this year. Now that he's got his master's degree or whatever. And yeah, I think him versus Carlos Ulberg is a great fight. Carlos Ulberg coming off the win over Jan Blachowicz back in March, I think, from earlier this year in London. A pretty, I don't know, so-so fight. A lot of people weren't too high on it. Carlos Ulberg, he really needs that one big standout win here, and he needs someone that's going to come at him and push the pace at him to make him look like an exciting fighter, or you know, just look better overall, because his most recent wins over Jan Blachowicz and Volkan Oezdemir, not the best fights in the world, and yeah, he definitely needs that one staple win on his resume to push him over and then get the fans behind him and push him towards a title shot. And I think this will certainly do that, right? Yuri is going to walk right at him, you know, and Yuri's going to fight how he's going to fight, and it's going to be exciting no matter who he's fighting. So I think if you match these two up and kind of, I know majority of people would probably prefer Yuri Prochazka versus Clear Roundtree, but I think you don't match those two up, and that way you get a bit more diverse in the division. It lets some of these younger guys come up and try to make a name off them. The next fight I have, Honor Allen versus Lerone Murphy. This to be on the pay-per-view. I think these two are the two left over. I originally was going to go with Honor Allen versus Aljamain Sterling, but I do think that Aljamain Sterling now has a fight against Brian Ortega in August sometime. I believe it's on the China card, and he's a co-main event there, which is weird, but nonetheless, I think these two are kind of the two left over at featherweight, and they're both going to be looking for a fight towards the tail end of this year. A bit weird that we're going to have two UK guys on a pay-per-view in Vegas and not try to, I don't know, do something in the UK, do a fight night in the UK without these two headline, but I think that's probably just the way it's going to end up working out here, unfortunately for them. But it's a fantastic fight nonetheless. I mean, Arnold Allen, super well-rounded. Lerone Murphy, a great technical striker. So I think you match those two up, have one of them move on in the top 10 in the UFC featherweight division. Arnold Allen coming off the win over Giga Chikadze from earlier this year. He looked great in that fight. Good bounce back win for him. And Lerone Murphy coming off the decision win over Josh Emmett, which he looked pretty good in that fight. You know, it was a good technical performance from Lerone Murphy, and two guys that could both use a finish, a good staple win here. I don't think either of them would end up getting that in this fight, which would be kind of a shame, but hey, it'll help clear some things up at featherweight and get them both a fight before the end of the year. Next fight I have on the pay-per-view, Tatiana Suarez versus Mackenzie Dern. Tatiana Suarez coming off that brutal loss to Weili Zhang from earlier this year. Her first time fighting for UFC Gold. Did not go as planned, you know. Tatiana Suarez is very interesting because injuries have just riddled her career and, you know, just made it not what it should have been. I remember her being number 5 ranked, number 3 ranked, something crazy like that way back in 2019. And she's just been so inactive since then due to all the injuries. And UFC finally was just like, fuck it, let's just give her a title shot. Even though she didn't, I mean, she kind of earned it, and due to there not being too many women at that weight class for Weili Zhang, that Weili Zhang hasn't fought. I think they kind of just ended up giving Tatiana Suarez the title shot, and clearly she wasn't ready for it. You know, she looked great in that first round, but just got dominated right after that. So yeah, I think it'll be a tough mountain to climb back up for Tatiana Suarez, and I hope she wants to go for it again here. She's so talented that she kind of deserves another crack at this, another climb up that mountain, if you will. And who knows, if Weili Zhang does successfully beat Valentina Shevchenko for the flyweight title later this year, she might just stay a flyweight, and that would leave a huge opening for Tatiana Suarez or Mackenzie Dern even to fight for the vacant belt. Mackenzie Dern coming off that sick armbar win over Amanda Ribas from earlier this year. Might have even been late last year. I'm not sure. But yeah, Mackenzie Dern also kind of right there for the title. Never fought for the title, so that's on her side, especially if Weili Zhang does not win against Valentina Shevchenko. I could see that the UFC slipping her right into a title shot, and you know, good name value on Mackenzie Dern. People like her, got a big fan base, and yeah, I think either if these girls get matched up, the winner of that will be in a great position moving forward. It's got Virna Aljiroba down there, so a lot going on at women's strawweight. The last fight on the pay-per-view that I will have is Jeff Neal versus Kevin Holland 2. Now, Kevin Holland just got a fight scheduled again against Daniel Rodriguez at UFC 3. God, what is that? 19? 18? I think it's 18 in Louisiana, the Dustin Poirier Max Holloway card. So he will be fighting, and I was gonna change this because it's like he's not gonna turn around that quick. But it's fucking Kevin Holland I'm talking about. Of course he's gonna turn around that quick. I could easily see him fighting in July and then fighting early October. And then shit, he'd probably even get one more in December to make it 6 for the year. So yeah, I think Kevin Holland, he will remain active. I think I'll beat Daniel Rodriguez at UFC 318. And yeah, he's just gonna keep going here, man. Jeff Neal coming off the win over Rafael dos Santos from last year, so he's been pretty inactive, hasn't fought in quite a while. You might not know that this is a rematch, by the way. Jeff Neal versus Kevin Holland. They fought in a regional promotion before either of them were in the UFC. Kevin Holland won that fight by TKO. But yeah, I think it makes sense ranking-wise right now. Kevin Holland just got ranked number 14 with his beautiful submission win over Vicente Luque on UFC 316. And so, yeah, I think ranking-wise, it'll make sense, especially after if Kevin Holland is successful against Daniel Rodriguez, he'll still be ranked. He might get ranked even higher. He might be at like the 12 or 13 spot right after that. Jeff Neal currently ranked number 8 in the division. So I think it just makes sense to keep Kevin Holland going at the UFC welterweight division and keep him moving, keep him climbing up the rankings. Certainly a guy, fan base is kind of hot and cold on Kevin Holland, depending on what he says on random podcasts. But it definitely makes sense ranking wise, and have Kevin Holland move up, and Jeff Neal can fight someone since he's been so inactive, and it's a great fight. Why not? You know. So yeah, that'll be the whole card for UFC 320. These are my predictions. Full card. We got Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira 2. Co-main event, you got Yuri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg. Then you got Arnold Allen versus Lerone Murphy. Tatiana Suarez versus Mackenzie Dern. And then rounding out the pay-per-view, Jeff Neal versus Kevin Holland 2. I also made some fun prelims that there's no fucking way the UFC books all these because they're too good. But they would be fun nonetheless. I put a Patchy Mix versus Montel Jackson. Montel Jackson ranked like number 15 in the UFC bantamweight division. Patchy Mix coming off that horrible loss to Mario Batista at UFC 316. I think that fight still makes sense. You give Patchy Mix still someone in the rankings so he can kind of work his way back up if he is successful against Montel Jackson. And then Montel Jackson, this will be the biggest name he's ever fought. And I think this will kind of keep Montel in fans' minds if he's able to get a win over Patchy Mix, and then he can start climbing up the rankings as well. Also on the prelims, I would then have Ian Cucciolabre versus Navajo Sterling. Cucciolabre, longtime UFC vet, longtime UFC light heavyweight. Namajo Sterling. He's the training partner of Israel Adesanya. Trains down at City Kickboxing. Carlos Alberg as well. So I threw him on this card. Kind of a young prospect of the light heavyweight division, and be a fun fight. Then this one's definitely not happening because it's way too good. Pedro Munoz versus Malcolm Wellmaker. Malcolm Wellmaker coming off that huge knockout win back at UFC Atlanta from earlier in June. Pedro Munoz coming off a few losses now in his career. I think this makes sense. You know, Pedro Munoz, it wouldn't be too high of a step up for Malcolm Wellmaker, and Pedro Munoz coming off a few losses here, and I think it'd be a fun fight. I mean, they're certainly going to sit there and stand and bang, right? So it's what we all want to see, and yeah, I think that it could be either a resurgence for Pedro Munoz or another incredible highlight reel knockout from Malcolm Wellmaker. The last fight I'll just throw on there then is Veronica Hardy versus Montana De La Rosa. This is just a fun scrap. Veronica Hardy, the wife of Dan Hardy. Montana De La Rosa coming off a couple losses at the UFC strawweight division as well. Or no, I believe this is women's flyweight. So yeah, I think it's a good fight. Rounds out the prelims. I could have thrown some more on here. Obviously, a pay-per-view is going to have at least 12 to 13 fights on it, but that's what I'll go with for the ESPN portion of the prelims. Let me know what you guys think of this card. Let me know if you think any of these fights will actually end up getting made. Let me know what you want to see headline UFC 320. Remember to subscribe over here on Cage Side Connor. Click that little subscribe button, click that like button. Let me know anything you guys want me to improve on, any video topics you guys want to see, if you guys like the videos. I'm new to all this, so I'm open to any and all suggestions. All right, thank you guys for watching. Peace.